So let me bring it back to this. What if the WP was having an affair with someone who wasn't a parent?
The WP? You mean the VP?
VP.
I was like, what is this Freudian slip? Man?
Oh my God.
What is this Freudian slip?
Woo, yeah, VP. Maybe it's just the the stereotype, the weepy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next dinner party, check out Tell You First, our new podcast series. In each episode, Harish and I dive into fascinating topics you never knew you needed to know, all with a strong infusion of comedy and that uniquely Singaporean perspective. And the catch? One of us is in the know about the topic, and the other, a complete noob, making for some seriously entertaining conversations. We talk about things like the coral crisis of 1967 when there was mass panic in Singapore over shrunken genitalia. We also go into the drama behind building the world's first night zoo, the Night Safari. And we even delve into the history of Singaporean traditions like the wedding gate crash. So head on over now to the Me Listen app, Spotify or Apple Podcasts and search for Tell You First. And now, on to the podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Okay, man. Pretty good. All the usual stuff lah. Exercise, eating good food, high tea lifestyle.
High tea lifestyle.
Yeah. No, not the Thai high tea,
Oh.
the high testosterone lifestyle. High testosterone.
Oh, to balance your low tea weekdays.
Yeah. High tea lifestyle. Eat
High
well,
tea lifestyle.
exercise, and do all sorts of fun things.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow, not bad, Not bad, Walking with a spring in your step,
Okay lah. It's close to the end of the year.
Mm.
I don't know if you noticed, something to be outraged about. Like
What?
Christmas decorations are starting to go up around town and things like that.
I thought people were outraged like 3 weeks ago already.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I only noticed the decorations like recently lah.
Yeah, in all my ethnic WhatsApp groups.
Oh, is it?
No lah. Fuck.
I thought for real, man. The Christmas
My
decorations are,
ethnic WhatsApp groups
they're creeping up on us already.
creeping up. But it's the every year thing, right?
But this year, this is really early though. It's barely even like just past mid-October.
Yeah lah. Yeah. And I mean, like, you've seen the decorations in person lah.
They are there, yeah.
I think maybe it's also because this year I'm a bit more at home this time of year
Okay.
than I have been in the past few years.
Yeah.
So to me, I have no idea even like what date it is most of the time.
Yeah.
But I know Diwali is in 2 weeks.
And supposedly Deepavali clashes with Halloween itself, right? Or
Yes.
Halloween clashes with Deepavali.
Yeah, correct.
So again, there'll be some culture wars there lah.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why Terrence said Deepavali and I said Diwali, well, you can find out more on what, Terrence?
Tell you first.
Yeah.
There's an upcoming Deepavali episode.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Where we explain stuff like that. But aside from that, weather was lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you're going out and about and all, but if you're like spending most of the time at home, it was lovely.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. It's a stormy weather amongst the stormy Singapore.
Stormy Singapore. So many things going on recently. Like I was with friends over the weekend and just a lot of things to talk about. Like, when I say things, I mean things in the general public that everyone can have an opinion on. And we are talking about a couple of them here.
Yeah.
What has surprised you about all these events in Singapore? Has it shocked you that suddenly everything's coming all at once?
Actually, I think like the few big ones, like, Iswaran's case, Pritam's case, you kind of knew it was coming up.
Yeah.
Then, of course, some other things that throw a spanner in the works, like the Income Alliance and Allianz, the MRT breakdowns and all. It feels like, there's no shortage of news to talk about now.
Yeah.
Which, sometimes when it's dry, right, then I can't remember some of the more mundane topics we've spoken about. Now it's, lapupu and stuff like that.
Yeah, or surveys and things
surveys
like that,
and shit. Now it's like, holy crap. We can record a podcast every day, man.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of every day, even the Pritam Singh case, for example, every day there's something new as well, right?
Yeah.
That we're uncovering.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to talk about.
Finally.
Yeah,
finally. Quite a few of our listeners have been pinging us saying, when are you guys going to talk about it? Well, we're going to talk about it today. It's still ongoing. Literally, there are updates coming out of court as we speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about. But before
the tenor of the way you say finally is very reminiscent of Amos E.
Is it?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
You have you all got the same delivery of that word.
Finally.
Suddenly I was thinking of Amos. He popped out in
Little
my head when you said that.
chills down your spine.
Not chills. I mean, it was an interesting period in Singapore's history. I think.
Was, man.
Yeah.
It was. But yeah.
Yeah.
Before we
are.
start, yeah.
If you're new here, welcome to the Yellow Butt podcast where we talk about the current affairs 3 times a week. Please like, share, follow, subscribe to the content if you feel it's useful or it's something that you enjoy. Right.
And if you want to work with us, you can check us out at ministryofunny.com or drop us an email at contact@ministryofunny.com.
Yeah.
Always looking for individuals to work with as well as brands and partners. But yeah, let's jump straight into it, man.
Sure, man. The elephant in the room.
Yeah. This is the 1 week anniversary of our debut going to High Court.
Not High Court.
State courts. Yeah. Because if you had not heard the episodes from last week, last Monday, 14th October, we actually went to the first day of Pritam's trial to see in person what unfolded.
Yeah.
And since then, there's been a lot of news, a lot of things in the papers, a lot of things that we can only take and understand from what we see in the news, right? Because it's a very protected case, as are all cases in the state court.
Yeah.
But I mean, like how would you describe your experience at the state court?
It's very different from going to Parliament. That's for sure. I think the state courts, it's a much more somber affair. I mean, all of them are very serious, right? But the state courts, literally, you are in that same space as where the judge and the accused and all the legal teams are, right?
And you mean the literal space,
Yeah, literal
It's
space.
not like Parliament where you're blocked off by like glass and all.
And on a different floor, right?
Yeah,
this one you're that close. So yeah, making any kind of noise, even coughing or something, actually impedes the procedure itself, of the whole legal procedure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just feel so much in the mix of things. But at the same time, also it can get very dry at certain points because there's a lot of legal things that you have to get through legal jargon and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were points I was like, wow, this is moving a lot slower than I thought it would.
Yeah, because I mean, you train by what you see in the movies and TV shows and all, right? Or even to a certain extent, Parliament. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I know there are certain procedures. Opening statement. Then every time a witness comes to stand, the prosecution and defense will take their turns. I think the biggest thing that stood out for me, because we went there the first day and then every other day we were reading through the news.
Yeah.
There is a lot of emotion and tension that is understandably missed out when you just read what comes out in the news versus being there.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Which is interesting. And I mean, these sort of cases, they are open to the public. You just need to go there early enough to get tickets.
Correct.
Right.
But I mean, that might be a deliberate thing though.
Yeah.
To avoid there being like emotional reactions to what people are saying in court and all that, right?
Yeah.
And to really look, for the judge also to be able to look at it purely based on the facts, ideally.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, maybe not having cameras there or being able to capture the emotions of the people there, that's also by design.
Yeah, because you think about it, like even when it comes to Parliament proceedings or even the COP, Committee of Privileges itself, I remember there were so many clips of Pritam that was, going around with memes and Edwin Tong with memes. You don't want anyone making memes of people in a court case.
Yeah.
Especially because sometimes court cases can get very dark.
And they talk about very serious issues as well.
Yeah.
Tears flowed while we were there. So we saw them ourselves. So yeah, it's can be a very serious affair, right? So it's quite different experience from watching on TV and all. Watching shows on TV.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, what happened was from Monday till Friday yesterday, there were 5 days of the trial, and multiple individuals took the stand as witnesses. So overall, right, just to set the context, Pritam is facing 2 charges, and his defense lawyer is Mr. Andre Jumaboy, who has become a sort of I wouldn't say meme himself. He's comparisons being made between him and Giga Chat, which is a meme.
Yeah.
And he's the defense attorney. The public prosecutor is Deputy Attorney General Ang Cheng Hock, who is a former High Court judge himself. So I mean, we saw the proceedings in person, and they both have their respective teammates with them, but they tend to be the ones leading the cross-section interviews. So the first day, while we were there, it was Raisa Khan took the stand. And essentially it was her throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll just speed through like what happened, the proceedings generally.
Sure.
I know like on 14th October, one piece of news that we only found out on the day itself was that the former WP Secretary General Loh Tia Kiang will also testify. And just as we are speaking, Monday 21st October, he just arrived in court like not too long ago.
Yep.
So yeah, Monday was essentially Raisa Khan. And then Tuesday was also Raisa Khan. And there was more grilling of her with regards to the messages she sent to her two WP cadres. Then day 3 was also Raisa Khan. So there was 3 full days. By October 17th, one of Raisa Khan's aides and former WP cadre Loh Pei Ying took the stand, and she was grilled. And then on October 18th, another ex-WP cadre, Yudhishthra Nathan, took the stand as the third witness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can dive into what they said, but those were the 2 individuals who were also grilled by the COP when they sat in 2021.
Correct, yeah.
Right. And a lot of what went down between them and Raisa Khan and Pritam laid the foundation for Pritam's charges. So overall, I mean, there's still going to be like today, this week, they're sitting the whole week.
Yeah, 4 days, I think.
Yeah, we will probably pop by at some point.
At least for one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, that's what happened, right? But how would you say, or how should we even talk about this, Terrence?
Yeah. I think it's important here that we lay down that, we are really trying to base everything we say on facts, right? Facts that have been established in the case already. And because we are in the middle of the case, that is essentially about the accused person lying. And because part of what we have realized the defense is setting up is questioning the credibility of the witnesses, right? So whether, in fact, one of the witnesses even admitted to lying about a certain point about something, right?
Yeah.
So everything we say here, we are trying to err on the side of it being as factual as possible. But at the same time, because there are questions about credibility of certain witnesses and all that, we also can't give 100% sure if what we are saying is the fact, right?
Yeah. Because
so we're really basing off on what the newspapers are also writing. So literally, even in court, I had the window of the live coverage of the Pritam Singh trial from the Straits Times going on, and I was refreshing it as we went, just to, as I was listening, I was also trying to read what the reporter was trying to interpret about everything. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, there was you can see it go through some sort of filtration, right?
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because I mean, contempt of court, as we speak, there is someone who posted on Facebook, right? And who the AGC is considering, pressing charges for contempt of court.
Yeah. So, it's quite, I think, I mean, it's public, right? It's like Donald Loh, the academic, Singaporean academic Donald Loh, who posted something on Facebook about the revelation of some of the evidence for the Committee of Privileges was procured.
Yeah.
So now he's also being examined for contempt of court,
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think, and to be fair, also, that's how it is in the legal world, right? You don't want to prejudge anything or bias any kind of decision making by talking about it before we hear all sides, right?
Yeah. But that being said, right, like what would you say your thought process or your feelings were over the past week, especially when you talk to the people around you about this, because it's on, like, everybody is aware, right?
Everybody is aware there's a case going on, but I don't think everybody is really following day to day what is happening.
Yeah.
And even for us also, like, some of the new things I learned was, okay, the prosecution calls a witness, but the prosecution has, they get to talk to the witness uninterrupted, essentially, right? And then when they're done, after that, it's the defense's turn to talk to the witness. And again, they have, I think, it's also uninterrupted time with them as well. So what you really hear is what the prosecution side, then you hear the defense's side, like how they're talking to the witnesses. So it's very hard to make a certain judgment, or even in your own mind, like, make a certain decision or judgment whether you believe someone until you've heard both sides of the story, right? And that's where the proceedings being quite dragged out, quite long, it's a lot to take in for a layperson, who's not like really following every step of the way, right? Or even doesn't have the timeline set out in front of them. I think like almost like if someone doesn't give me a visual diagram of the timeline, I will definitely get lost.
What happened, everything, is it?
Of everything, how the meetings between Raisa Khan and Pritam Singh went down and everything. Yeah. So that's why I think a lot of people, beyond a certain point, they're not following this minutiae of the case already.
Yeah.
They're just generally waiting for what's going to be the verdict at the end.
Yeah. But I mean, there are certain things that, all the media headlines and all will focus on. Feels like, lying, like the word lie, liar, lying is coming up a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, watching this case unfold, I guess it's one of those things that, growing up, you think that, okay, law is black and white. Why actually do we need lawyers? Because there is the law. If you don't follow the law, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
But a lot of these legal cases, they're fought out with, in some way, there's a lot of grey area in between.
Yeah.
And it is about finding which area is grayer than the others.
Correct.
And I mean, you would think also, right, that people won't lie under oath. Right, but here we have one of the witnesses who, on paper, publicly stated that she admitted to lying.
Yeah.
Right, so when you see that, you're like, oh shit. It becomes tough to follow also because
correct.
Yeah, it's like if you run a red light, it's a bit more quantifiable.
Yeah,
but in this case, there's someone who admitted to lying, someone's being charged for lying, and it's just which case is stronger, right?
Yeah, correct.
So I mean, in some way, it's interesting to see how this is unfolding because yes, this is a case that's happening, but I think this is also like politicians who are involved,
correct?
Which like the decisions of whom impact the whole country. So it's a bit unnerving,
Yeah. But there were some surprises during the case also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that Loh Tia Kiang is coming on as a prosecution witness as well.
Yeah.
That I think was not something that a lot of people expected, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, these instances where the Loh Pei Ying admitted to lying about something, that wasn't expected either, right?
Yeah.
So there are still surprises in the case that come up only because they're being fought in court, and that's where there's a lot of information. And I think it can be quite overwhelming for someone who's not following closely.
Yeah.
But when you talk to people, do you get a sense that they're really very invested into the case as well?
I think it's more that they swing one way or the other.
Oh, really? That means they prejudge. They contemptuous behavior, prejudging.
In some way, prejudging. Then I should serve up, serve the law to them.
Yeah.
But I think because at the end of the day, there's one person who's being charged, multiple day trial. It just is something that people look at it objectively, right? This guy is being charged in court, so it doesn't paint the best picture of, say, Pritam Singh. So some people swing that way.
Yeah.
Some people seeing it as unfair treatment. Also, without understanding the facts.
Yeah.
So that's why it's I just don't know how this will affect people's support for the incumbent or WP, regardless of the facts of the case. Yeah, because even if Pritam is found to be guilty and all, I think that the spill-on effects and all for people's sentiments towards the party, no idea, man.
Hard to measure,
Yeah, because sometimes even if you look at other countries, right, when leaders are proven to be guilty of a criminal deed, right?
Yeah.
The way they spin the story, the way people see it, it can actually give them political leverage.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So in this case, I mean, it's tough to debate the facts because it's still ongoing. But I think more interesting is what like people generally feel about it, regardless of whether they are diving deep or whether they're just seeing these headlines. Oh shit, someone lied during the COP, admitted to lying. Oh, the ex-WP Secretary General is going to be testifying.
Yeah.
So it's just more the how it's impacting people's perceptions.
But I remember our discussion with Shanmugam when he came on our podcast and we talked about POFMA. I think what really struck me when he was talking about the use of POFMA and everything was, I think they really take a very, very long-term view on the importance of the narrative, right? So in this sense, the narrative for this case is being written every day in terms of headlines, right? And in terms of the big message that gets out there, right?
Yeah.
Because 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when people are looking back on this case, that's all they'll have to come back to, the headlines that these newspapers are writing. They're not going to trawl through comments on Reddit or anything like that to understand the sentiments of people, right? So yeah, I mean, it is a very important thing, even though people don't care about the minutiae of thing. It is important how the media is also covering this event, and it will sort of inform people in the long term about the facts of this case in the long term, and they will have come to a certain conclusion in the future. Historians will look at this and they will come to a certain conclusion based on all these headlines.
What's in the headlines.
Yeah.
I mean, it is giving us some insight into how a political party works.
Which political party?
WP in this case.
Oh, yes.
Because they're going a lot into detail about which meetings Raisa Khan had with her cadres and Pritam Singh, and then the exchanges between the cadres and Raisa Khan, and then what they had to do with their phones.
Yeah, and even the roles of these cadres and all that, right?
Yeah.
Like what they do with the MPs and things like that.
Yeah. Which, I mean, can be a bit unsettling because, you realize, oh shit, it's like, when you grow up, you always think like, oh, the adults have it all together,
Yeah.
And then you realize, no, a political party is just like a company or like a group of people trying to do stuff.
Everyone's just winging it. Everyone is just winging it.
Everyone is just winging it.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't have a clue what they're doing, but that's life, you go through it.
Yeah.
Do I know what I'm doing as a parent?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah.
But you just go through it.
Yeah.
So in some way, you get a peek into it. I wouldn't say it's a comforting peek because it looks like there's a lot of communication issues and all, which also makes me think it's not specific to just WP.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure any political party, I'm sure even the PAP, if you deep dive, there'll be all those sort of miscommunications and all that. It's just now there's a big zoom in focus on WP.
Yeah. And that's something that this struck me about just being there in court as well, sort of being in parliament, right? This everything is being transcribed and everything is being recorded. Every word you say is scrutinized, right? So there is this whole trail of things you say or didn't say that is being recorded, right? And that is basically official record. That 1,000 years from now, when aliens come and then they find the remains of human civilization, they will pull out this transcript, right? And then they will read, this was going on in courts, and that will form their understanding of things.
And the sketches.
The sketches. So it's sort of like the Hansard in Parliament like that, right? Like when Yalabat was mentioned in Hansard, I told you we are there for eternity already, for the rest of the history of Singapore, we will be there, right? But and the same goes for court proceedings as well. And so there's this official documentation of what is, it's almost like a history of Singapore being written as we speak in some way, right? And it's that is essentially the official line. And us out here reading the news and speculating and talking to each other and friends, all that is going to be gone with history also, right? Your sentiment, how you feel about the case or how you feel about individuals in the case, all that will be gone over time, right? But this official line of who lied and who didn't do things properly and all that is going to be there forever.
Yeah.
It's a permanent stain on your record.
Only thing is, it's text only. Because the Hansard in Parliament, we still know how Shiok Peng would have said Yalabat, Yalabat. But in this trial, it's just text. And I mean, as of now, it's going to be going on this week and the following week also, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, Pritam Singh would take the stand.
Will he?
Will he not?
Would he?
I think so.
That's the thing. I'm not sure.
Have to lah.
Does he have to?
I mean, if you're a defense attorney, of course you want him as your witness, right?
Possibly, yeah. The things that we're not 100% sure.
Yeah, not 100% sure.
Yeah.
So this is lay people trying to understand court.
Correct. Because ultimately, it's up to the legal team to decide whether it's to their advantage, right? For the accused to take the stands, right?
That is true.
Because you think about it, the last time when Pritam, was on defense at the Committee of Privileges, like what you said, a lot of it, spun into memes and became very big discussion points for people.
Yeah.
And you could argue that that was all just his presentation and how he said things on the surface, right? Not so much about actual content. And so it might not actually work in your advantage if you're the lawyer to have him on the stand and also, you know. He is a good speaker, right? He is a very commanding presence. I think when you see him in public as well, he's not a small guy or whatnot, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, like I don't even know what the but moment is here.
I think the but moment is why should people, you know, follow the proceedings of this trial. I think I met a lot of people over the weekend who weren't super like invested in everything or following the trial, and I took a lot of great pains to explain to them what has.
You were that guy lah.
I was that guy lah, and after a while you hate yourself for it because it's like, why are you so concerned?
Was it unsolicited explaining? Or?
No, solicited. But at the same time, it's like, one having to explain what a lao hong biscuit is to people and all that, a bit troublesome also, you know.
Yeah. Also, you are people who don't understand lao hong biscuits.
The context, they don't understand why is she being called a lao hong biscuit, right? You know? Then you have to go into, Raisa Khan's background of how she became an MP and like what happened even in the lead up to her becoming MP and everything.
And the person who said the lao hong biscuit was one of the cadres lah.
Yeah, the cadre, her own
low paying.
Correct, yeah.
Her own use of the
word.
So
you really need, it's almost like, you remember how when Muna was here on our podcast and she talked about the whole Diddy files and everything, and she could pull up all the details and everything. That's how I felt like at dinner and everything, trying to explain to people what's been going on in the Pritam Singh trial.
I really hope that it was solicited.
Yeah.
But much less, it was unsolicited.
Also much less interesting than the Diddy stuff going on, right?
Yeah. Diddy stuff. But
so why do you think people should care though?
Why should care? I mean, in some way, it is just like it's under the hood of like how, I wouldn't say just politics works.
Yeah.
The legal system works and how things function in the court.
Yep.
And just understanding that, like what I said earlier, the fact is that why trials go on for so long, because it's lawyers making a case, which sounds obvious, but I think seeing it and then reading what has been coming out in the news, there's no black and white. So at the end of the trial, I don't know whether we'll ever come to a point, so-and-so did this, so-and-so didn't do this.
Yeah.
It'll just be who has a better case.
Yeah.
It's like arguments with your partner.
Yeah.
Do you ever know who's right or wrong? You can think you're right, but if you don't know how to pitch it well, you're wrong.
Yeah. No, but I think, the arguments with your partner, you don't have like a running record of what was said and everything, right? Whereas this one,
not
really
yet,
yeah, not yet. But this one is really step by step. Every question has an intention, right? Everything is recorded and it's asked for a reason. I think that's what struck me, like I mean, we say boring, but actually what they're really doing is laying the groundwork for the questioning they're going to do later, So it's a lot of work to even just sift through what they're talking about and trying to make sense of it.
I remember when they were passing around court documents of like the transcript of the COP, it was like one fucking big dictionary size thing. Then you just pass it around.
And literally they'd be like, oh, please go to page this, and then the second paragraph from the top, and excuse me that some of the pages are not paginated, and you'll have to read whatever. Okay, why don't you take a couple of minutes to read it? And so you are really just sitting there in the court waiting for them to finish reading something,
Yeah.
So it can be quite a dry, laborious process. The reporters reporting it also have a very important role because they will shape how the discussion of the case is going on as well.
And I guess it's also a reminder that all those TV shows you watch about law and all, right?
Yeah.
Whatever case was in the episode probably went on for like a month. Because at the end of this trial, if you cut like the super cuts, you probably can make a pretty good 30-minute episode of a TV series.
If it was recorded.
If it was recorded.
Yeah.
But the highs and lows, maybe 1 hour drama.
1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 hour drama.
Yeah.
But we can't form a judgment now or something.
No, we can't, contempt of court to prejudge at this point. Yeah.
Contempt of court.
So we'll still follow up with it. Maybe next week again we'll talk about it again, depending on where things are at. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the best would be when this whole thing has closed and where there's a decision being made, and then we can debate that decision.
Correct.
But for now, it is just keeping track of the news.
Yeah.
And I mean, for anyone who's interested, I don't think you need to know the minute by minute breakdown, which I mean all the mainstream papers are doing. But every day there's typically a summary of what went down and all.
Yeah.
Worth just understanding, because once you lose track, you're going to lose track of the names and all that, and then it'll be tough to follow, lah.
Tough. Yeah. But yeah, just speaking on moving fast, right? Information, making decisions fast, and everything like that, right? Something happened recently, but the decision has been made a lot faster, that this person is absolutely guilty as charged. And guilty not only in the court of public opinion, but guilty, and he has left his job and probably will never get another job with the same organization again. Very, very juicy details over the weekend, right? What is this bit of news about?
The news of a ex-vice principal who resigned from his role after being accused of having an extramarital affair with a parent of one of the students at the school. So, yeah, apparently they were going out for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
The VP himself has been married for over 30 years, and it was the wife who started posting online about her suspicions of an affair. And in the end, there was a tip-off, and one thing led to another, and the vice principal resigned. So then there are screenshots of their chat history, and the relationship was seems to be real.
Yeah.
And he left his job.
Yeah.
And apparently the other parents are shocked because the rumors of the affair actually spread through the parents' group. So like as a parent of a child who already goes to some form of school, when you saw this, right, did it make you relook your own parent-teacher meetings?
No lah, because usually they're much more innocent than this kind of things lah.
It always starts off innocent.
It always starts off innocent lah, but I think maybe a good place to start is also to what kind of information was leaked out to the public, right? That made people understand the affair, and also everyone became like overnight CSI detectives, right? Trying to determine certain things about the couple and all that, right? What evidence have you seen about
Terrence, I think you do the honors, man, because I know when you say your weekend was, a very high tea weekend, part of it also involves
disappearing down the rabbit hole of this whole thing.
So come, Terrence, enlighten me and all our listeners.
I also only caught wind of it through like I think Reddit, or then after the Hardware Zone and all, and there were like, I think at any one point there were maybe 8 threads or something like that going on about this case. And there was, initially it started from a Facebook link that I believe the wife of the person, the vice principal, right, put up, where she actually had ton of pictures, selfies of the principal and his alleged mistress, right. And turns out, they also allege that she is a parent of a student in the school, right. So there were a lot of pictures of them. I'm supposing like, on dates like at pubs, or pictures of them even hanging out with like bigger groups of friends, right? And pictures of them they're more than just friendly, right? They look quite intimate in them. So there are a lot of these pictures, but they're just pictures, right? You can't really say anything from there. But there were also WhatsApp message screenshots that were taken between the two of them. Some of them quite explicit, some of the messages quite explicit to each other. And people were digging deep into the spelling of certain words in the messages as well, right? Very surprisingly, the vice principal spelled certain parts of the anatomy wrongly, and that was called out by a lot of people on Hardware Zone,
including the person he was sending the message to as well.
Correct. Yeah, and you sort of get a sense of the modus operandi of this alleged cheater, right? Where the name of the person he was messaging was a man's name. I believe it was a Michael or something like that. But the messages he was sharing with this Michael were very explicit in nature, right? Talking about body parts and consumption of body parts and things like that, right? And then I think the kicker was at the end of it, suddenly there was also a recap message on the WhatsApp where they recapped what they did on a date, or when the man recapped what they did on a date.
Where he recapped, where she just thumbs up.
And he gave like almost as per our discussion, this is what we're going to follow up on kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it came with some like instructions on, how they would treat each other in the coming months or something like that, lah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people online also found that hilarious because of the alleged, bureaucratic background of the person involved, lah, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of, it almost feels like an email from work like that when you read it. But then you read it, it's between a man and his alleged mistress.
Alleged mistress. So, I mean, like, okay, this was the VP of a school and this was a parent of one of the students, allegedly, right?
Yeah, allegedly, yeah.
Don't know whether that has been confirmed yet, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is not just like a rumor. I think...
No, not confirmed, but MOE says aware of the incident.
And
they're looking into the matter, and the VP has tendered resignation and is currently on leave. So, I think we can take that as confirmation that is the case, lah.
Yeah.
But whether the parent is a parent of the student in the school and all that, we're not sure, right?
Yeah. So MOE is aware and has made a statement already, and they say, school leaders are expected to maintain high standards of conduct.
Yeah.
So the one thing that stood out for me is that I think MOE school leaders are expected to maintain high standards of personal conduct to uphold the integrity and reputation of the public service.
Yeah.
So do you think he needed to leave his job?
I think that's the big but that we're here to discuss, right?
Yeah.
Like, does someone who has an extramarital affair, as ugly as it is for his family and as destructive as it is for his family, does that mean he can't be a good vice principal for the school? Because the last very high profile extramarital affair that we've discussed on this podcast was obviously happened in Parliament, right? When Speaker of Parliament Tan Chuan Jin had an affair with a former MP as well, right? I think at that time you very specifically raised that there's a real conflict of interest here, or it makes you vulnerable as a Speaker of Parliament, right? When there's some secret affair that needs to be kept secret, and if someone knows about it, they can use that against you, right?
And you can be seduced by someone who, I mean, you shouldn't really be seduced by.
You can't control your attraction.
You can't control. You can't control. You're weak. You're weak. Yeah.
When you're talking about this high tea, powerful man,
they just cannot control.
They cannot control. But I mean, in this case, he's a VP of a school, and this is supposedly a parent of one of the students.
Supposedly, right?
Supposedly,
not
confirmed. Is there a big enough conflict of interest or fear that it will affect him doing his job that he needs to leave this job?
So I guess we can answer that question with the assumption that, okay, yes, this is a parent of one of the students.
Yeah.
Then we can consider the alternative case where she's just someone outside.
Yeah.
So if she is a parent of one of the students, I would think that, okay, there's a bit of conflict of interest.
Okay, well, why?
Because if the student is at the school in some way, like a customer, and I say customer, a user of the school's facilities, and the school has limited resources, finite resources, finite teachers, feels like, if push comes to shove, can this guy be as objective as he needs to be?
But can't you argue that that's like care for your customer, like above and beyond like the normal scope of care, lah? Like, so you're saying like a vendor cannot like date one of their customers?
No, then he must have affairs with all the mothers. Because the moment there is favoritism, then it becomes a thing. But if he has affairs with all the mothers, then I would say, okay, it's par for the course.
Oh, okay. But the favoritism is not to the student, right? It's to the mother of the student.
But right? Can you imagine, like, the student wants something and you say school policy cannot, then you have an argument with the mother.
Oh,
and then she's like, you know what, I'm going to pauto you. I'm going to tell everybody that Then how?
Yeah, then you just have to suck
So in some way, what we were saying about Tan Chuan Jin, he could be blackmailed or kind of have arm twisted into doing something he might not want to for fear of this getting out, which might affect his role as Speaker of Parliament.
Yes.
In this case, I think it will affect.
Yeah. Correct.
You?
I mean, there's a lot of chatter online, like assuming that it is the parent. A lot of questions were like, okay, what if she's, a single mom, so she's not like, or at least her family is not broken by this relationship, right?
Mm.
But at the same time, like the vice principal obviously has a family himself, right? And he
Your
is,
kids don't know yet.
I'm not sure, the chatter online is maybe, but not sure.
Mm.
But either way, that she is breaking that family in some sense, right?
Mm.
And it's just unpleasant for everyone involved, and it does, I think, I think it's a bit too close for comfort when it's a parent of a student in the school, because at the same time, the school network also is just you generally want it to be free of any kind of entanglements, as Will Smith's wife puts it, right? You don't have all these entanglements because people talk, right? And then especially parents groups and children's groups, and imagine what it is like for all the kids involved, right? Like you don't even have to go to school anymore.
So then let's say your kid is in the school now, right? Let's say one of the parents that plays golf with the principal.
Plays golf.
Golf every weekend, just two of them play golf.
And I mean, I'm thinking opposite sex and all that, right? You're talking about?
No, just golf, but them tight lah.
I mean, I think there's still you generally want to move away from any impression of impropriety, right? Especially if like one-on-one kind of meetings, right?
Yeah.
If a group, all that, I think it's not so bad,
But
right?
let's say it's two bros, or like two women playing golf, who love playing golf, or like say tennis,
Okay, then okay lah. When it's like two of the same gender and all, I think there's less issues, right?
Yeah.
It's when the opposite genders
But then do you think there's a conflict of interest there?
Oh, conflict of interest,
like they really bros or sisters, like they damn tight.
I think they can do stuff together. But once they start giving each other whiskey or Brompton bikes and things like that, then that's where it starts to get tricky, right? But it's okay to become friends with like teachers or administrators or parents. I think it's okay. Yeah. Why you feel uncomfortable with that?
No, I would say, like, let's say if I was in a position of the principal or something, I would be just a little aware that, okay, if I'm really damn tight with this person,
there could be allegations of impropriety, right?
Yeah.
Even a guy and a guy together or something.
Just bromance, you know. But is that right? Is that wrong? What if you really damn tight with someone? No, I think then, in some way, then you have to give, because you're in a position of power where you can make decisions that affect a lot of people, you need to go the extra mile to make sure that you are as impartial as possible.
Correct.
And you remove doubt.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That's a lesson that Iswaran, I think, needed to hear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You cannot just assume that because you are friends that it's okay, right?
Yeah. And I know we asked the same question of Tan Chuan Jin, right? Should he need to relinquish or be removed from his position? There was the state security, But okay, so let's bring it back to this. What if the WP was having an affair with someone who wasn't a parent?
The WP? You mean the VP?
VP.
I was like, what is this Freudian slip?
Oh my god.
What is this Freudian slip?
Woo, yeah, VP. Maybe it's just the the stereotype, the weepy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
This VP, if he's having an affair, I mean, that's where I think, is extramarital affair can't be condoned, right? But at least it's not with someone in the school or someone related to his work.
Yeah. So
I know the old saying of just don't shit where you eat, right?
Yeah.
I think that people should take that more into account before they make silly mistakes.
But do you think he'll need to resign?
Do I think he needs to resign?
If he's having an affair with someone who is nothing to do with the school.
Okay, I think this is where it goes into what his job scope and what his requirements are of his job scope. If there's a very clear, you need to maintain certain integrity and public, not even public, ethical guidelines. You have to follow certain ethical guidelines. So if you have family issues and they become public and all, this could affect your job. Then I think maybe he would have to do what needs to be done, But I think nowadays, if I'm not wrong, the public sector is a lot more open about a lot of things like divorce, about your sexuality and all these things as well.
Yeah.
So actually, maybe he might not be forced to resign even if something like that they come up.
I think he won't be forced, but it feels like there will be a certain tarnish on his image. Because, a VP, as opposed to saying, let's say you fresh grad, right? You become a teacher and all. and you have an extramarital affair.
Yeah.
I think there is less impetus or almost less of a pressure to relinquish your job because you are not kind of having to make tough decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. So as VP, I wouldn't say he would be need to leave or push to leave, but I think if he carries on, he'll be tarnished, his reputation.
And the thing about being a teacher to or an educator to young children, young impressionable minds, is that if your affairs become very public, students are going to jump all over it, right? They're either going to use that and make fun of you and make your life a living hell, or they're going to think that your behavior, normalizes the behavior, right? So in some sense, we do need our teachers to be role models for people, and doesn't even matter about your sexuality or anything like that. But if you're caught cheating, it's not a good look, right, for you, and you're not being a very good role model for anybody, right?
But Terence, can you don't be so old school? Well, humans are not meant to be monogamous.
Correct.
Apparently.
Correct. You tell his wife, then why his wife got so angry with him? It's because I think they took the marriage vows which vowed monogamy as well, right? But then he decided to go against that, So he did hurt somebody,
And I guess it reflects on his judgment, right? If you tell anybody on the street, I would say most people would be like, okay, this guy's VP on a school, you're going to have an affair with a parent.
Yeah.
This is a fucking terrible idea.
Correct, yeah.
Right? But yet you still do it.
And quite brazen about it, I would say.
All the photos, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look through the photos and all, they're not like trying to hide anything at all.
Go for a movie at like the mall and shit like that.
Yeah. So definitely they're out in public. They're quite public about it. So I was quite shocked about it.
Yeah. Shocking, yeah. So maybe that's the bigger thing. It just makes you think, hey, this guy, what is that thought process there? Like even if you go logically from step 1, step 2, step 3, it doesn't make sense. It will blow up in your face.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's true love,
Maybe it's just a tragic case of like wrong place, wrong time, right? Right person, wrong place, wrong time,
Yeah.
And I mean, aside from the age gap between them, because I think people also were commenting on the age gap between him and the alleged mistress, right?
Yeah.
Aside from that, it might be a case of true love, and they only discover each other later in life, But how do you feel like when you were digging to the rabbit hole and reading the message and all that, Like, did it make you feel like a more complete person or a better person for having read this,
It made me more aware of the human condition, and that we are all susceptible to mistakes. But no, I think it's just like what was this guy thinking? What was this guy and girl thinking? More the guy, You're a VP, and this is assuming that is the parent of one of the kids.
Yeah,
it's a fucking terrible idea. And to just go along that, I mean, maybe he gets a thrill out of it, There's like some naughty thing.
I'm sure. Yeah, probably something to it.
So to me, it's like, oh, okay. This happens a lot more than we think,
Yeah. I think the wife has come out to the newspapers and also said that she discovered it has been going on for more than a year already, So it wasn't an overnight thing or one night stand or anything like that. Not a mistake made when he was drunk, It was just a series of escalating behaviors.
Some more they're making plans for after PSLE also.
So I mean, that's the thing. When I saw the messages all. It was hilarious, right? A lot of the things that you saw in the messages, and you were really peeking into, an exchange, a private exchange, or what used to be a private exchange between two people who were in an affair that, a cheating affair, right? And I read it and I found it hilarious. A lot of people are talking about it all that. But after a while, just felt I need to take a shower, just very dirty.
Feel like a voyeur.
Feel like a voyeur, and like really, why suddenly everyone's so like into their lives of these two people. Not saying that you need to sympathize with them, but like, why is everyone so attracted to this whole thing?
So your weekend was probably, diving deep into Pritam's trial and how it affects the fabric of the political system in Singapore. But every time I got break, you just go straight.
Interspersed with like the income alliance thing also. Read-ups about the future of like insurance providers in Singapore.
Changing the constitution, the bill that was passed. But then after that, you're like, wow, look at this picture.
After PSLE,
they got plans all.
This club, that club. Yeah, that was my weekend.
That was your weekend. So all the exercise, all bullshit.
It's part of a high tea weekend, right? Sometimes you just need a comic relief to release some of that pressure. Open the valve a little bit, right?
In some way, we need comic relief these days. With everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I would say the people who really suffer are the kids.
Always.
Imagine the kids having to go to school and what kind of ridicule they'll be facing after this.
Yeah. I mean, her kid.
Her kids, yeah.
Does he have
I don't know. We don't know.
Or?
Yeah, I'm not very sure. But her kids, I think if they're in the school and all, it's
no, and then all the other teachers, you imagine the teachers, now the VP has already crossed this line.
Yeah.
You can imagine the parents will be, all the teachers will be under more scrutiny.
Yeah, correct. And then, and then the kid also, from what we know, he's taking PSLE this year. Right? So it's like...
The last thing he needs, he or she needs PSLE.
And the PSLE or somewhere.
At least the mom has her priorities for that.
Exactly, In that sense,
I really want to do this, but got the PSLE.
After PSLE. And she knows she doesn't need to explain anymore because she's talking to,
the VP.
Educator. Or he's like, I understand.
Yeah, he knows the PSLE. Walao, on the final day of PSLE, you see the students celebrating, but he also
excited to finish this.
Oh my god! If you have no idea what we're talking about, you can go down your own rabbit hole.
Go down your own rabbit hole. We won't tell you how to find it.
Yeah, we won't.
Find it.
My god! Yeah.
Speaking of going down rabbit holes, what is your one Shiok comment of this podcast?
My one Shiok comment was a comment on Reddit on the episode 577 where we talked about the NTUC Income Alliance deal being called off.
Yep.
Comment from edu-is. I think quite a regular commenter. Starts off, I think the government isn't doing a good job explaining things. But then again, the clear explanation may cast more aspersions on SG Inc.'s credibility so can understand why they do not want to do it. Let me try. And then they go on to give a short summary of the thing, which was quite comprehensive. But I think the thing that stood out most for me was they referred to Edwin Tong as Tong Tu. In some way, Tong Tong.
Tong Tong,
yeah. And I love it whenever something that we talk about on the podcast, like a name sticks. Last time we had Sugar Daddy Heng.
Yeah.
Now it's Tong Tong.
Yeah.
So let's make Tong Tong a Ting Ting, man.
Yeah. Ting Ting. Yeah. Nice.
But that was my one Shiok thing. One Shiok comment. What about you, man?
My one Shiok comments from YouTube from Nick Stephen Lim 3882. The Indian host making that face and noise regarding Simu Liu being woke doesn't seem to understand being Asian means minority in USA and Canada, and as Chinese, a minority of a minority. Black Panther, the movie, broke new ground when it made 1 billion. Guess this Indian host needs more DEI and sensitivity training. Signing off.
If only I was in a country where I wasn't the minority, then I can finally understand what Simu Liu goes through.
Oh, man.
The Indian host.
So you need more DEI and sensitivity training, Harish. Unfortunately.
The Indian host. I guess, that's the thing about YouTube. I think for people who listen to the audio, they actually know our names.
Yes.
YouTube is Indian host, Chinese host.
It tells you that YouTube is pushing this video to people who might even be out of the context of Singapore and all as well, right? Of understanding who is a minority in Singapore and things like that. Right? Yeah. So, maybe we'll see if there's a skills future course for Harish to take on DEI.
Yeah, sensitivity training.
Sensitivity training.
The Indian host. The Indian host has a name.
I've already loved this comment.
Oh, you loved it already?
On YouTube already. Yeah. So you can look it up if you happen to be there.
Nice, man.
But yeah. So what is your one Shiok thing as well?
My one Shiok thing was actually an article that you shared, I think last week or something, and it was an article on the New York Times.
Yeah.
And it was talking about the Smartless podcast, which it's still not the most well known, at least in Singapore.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a podcast that started off during COVID, and it's 3 well-known actors, Sean Hayes, who was part of, Will and Grace for 11 seasons.
Correct.
Will Arnett, who, has voiced Batman in the...
Is it Arnett or Arnett?
Arnett.
Arnett.
I don't know. Arnett.
The
Will Arnett. I think Will Arnett. Yeah, Will Arnett. Yeah. Will Arnett, who is BoJack Horseman.
Yes,
Horseman, right?
That's right.
And Jason Bateman, who is from Modern Family or Arrested Development.
Jason Bateman? Ozark and everything.
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Arrested. So I mean, three like pretty. I don't know whether they're considered A-listers, but
Why won't you say Jason Bateman from Ozark though?
I don't watch Ozark.
But Ozark is like his biggest role.
Arrested Development also was huge, right?
But Ozark is like got Emmys and he directed and everything.
Okay, Ozark.
Okay.
So three like pretty famous people. They started this podcast, but I mean the title of the article itself hints at what they talk about, and they say, will the Smartless podcast be the biggest role of their careers? Because since they started on COVID, they have gone on to become huge.
Big.
And the format is so simple. Like every episode, one of them brings a surprise celebrity guest that the other two don't know. And I mean, there's no real like agenda on the podcast. They're all like got comedy backgrounds, so it is funny as hell.
Yeah.
But I mean, in some way, it's quite inspiring to read about a podcast like that grow that big and just become this machine that is very lucrative. And they haven't really changed the format.
Yeah.
You know, they've just gone big, they tour, and it's cool.
And they talk in the article about like what the podcast meant to people during COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
And even today, so they're still maintaining that thread of it, right? Of meaning that to people.
Yeah.
And that to me is a lot of what I think, even like our podcast also, people have told us anecdotally what it meant to them during COVID and everything as well.
Yeah.
Which was nice to see.
And it's quite a reminder also, because I know in the past we've always thought, you know, like when as a creator or anything, you reach some level, then you think, I need to innovate, I need to disrupt. But you look at them, they're like, wow, the same format.
Yeah.
It's hard to think that it's just three dudes like that talking, but they just signed a recent deal with Sirius XM worth about 100 million.
Yeah.
So, insane. But quite inspiring.
Cool.
What about you, man?
Mine's a YouTube video about, I think it's on CNN, where John Miller, the former chief marketing officer for NBC Universal, he apologizes to the public because he was the executive who helped market the TV show Apprentice with Donald Trump. So he actually issued an apology about helping to create the monster that is Donald Trump today.
Is it?
Yeah, so the exact quote is, I helped to create a monster. And they interview him and he talks about how his time in during The Apprentice, they really fluffed up Donald Trump's achievements as a businessman, right? And a lot of it was like he was running bankrupt companies or he's running companies to the ground, but they just built this whole narrative of how he's this successful businessman, and the show wasn't even doing that great, but the promos were everywhere, right? People saw the promos all over the country, and
it was huge, man.
There was this impression that Donald Trump was like this big successful.
You're fired, right?
Yeah. So he has come forward now and just said that he apologizes for helping do that, and he talks about some instances where Donald Trump suggested stuff for the show. Like apparently, Donald Trump had suggested like for his show The Apprentice to have two teams, one black, one white, and then for them to compete against each other. And then he just detailed how he had to try to explain to Trump like why this one wouldn't go down well with the public.
Oh my God.
I've always wondered like what do those people who created The Apprentice, what they think about what they've created.
The imposing boardroom where he famously fired contestants was a set because his real boardroom was too old and shabby for TV. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's an interesting short video. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cool, man.
Cool. So another week, another round of Pritam Singh trial dates in court.
Right? And another visit to the state court.
State court's coming up. Yeah.
Cool.
But in the meantime, if you want to work with us, remember to like, share, follow, subscribe if you like this content, and what you want to do if you want to work with us.
Check us out at ministryoffunny.com and email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com. Sweet. Right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you all soon.